That concludes bylaws, any resolutions relating thereto. I will now move to the mayor's report, and I'm going to note that the mayor's report is for the period of March 13th through March 26th. I'll also note that I spent some of that time traveling, and I'm going to ask for members of council to provide some updates on some of the events they attended following my report. March 14th, again, as Deputy Chief Doran indicated, I had the opportunity to attend the crime prevention session in Winnipeg. I want to acknowledge and thank the Department of Justice for the invitation to the City of Thompson specifically to participate. When we arrived at that event, we noted there was a great deal of representation from communities throughout Manitoba, but in terms of a participation of the municipal government, the participation of the City of Thompson was noted, and I think that that's important, and Minister Swan acknowledged that himself. Deputy Chief Doran has reported, and I appreciate that report, very thorough, and I appreciate traveling together, and I can tell you, you are a tremendous ambassador for the City of Thompson, especially in these public safety issues, and you're becoming a bit of an expert on behalf of us for the events you are attending, so I do appreciate your interest and participation. The one other thing that I want to note is that it's often rare when you attend these events hosted by ministers, and in this case, the Minister of Justice, Minister Swan, and the Minister of Children and Youth Opportunities, Minister Chief. They'll often show up and, no disrespect, but open the conference and then perhaps show up and close the conference. I want to note that the ministers were active in their participation throughout the conference, and I think that speaks an awful lot to their commitment to justice and some of the issues that we're facing both here in Thompson but throughout the province. And we did have the opportunity to speak directly to both ministers, and I'm going to be pleased a little bit later to pass along some information. Both have indicated a willingness to work specifically with the City of Thompson, and I look forward to that opportunity. On March 17th, the Saturday, I had a chance to attend one of the games in the provincial basketball championships that were hosted here in Thompson. I know the event started, I believe, Thursday night and went through the weekend. And I didn't get a chance to attend all the events, but I did get a chance to attend one of the games at R.D. Parker. And from all the reports I'm hearing, the volunteers and the teams representing our community did a fabulous job in hosting the event and staging a great championship. So I do want to extend congratulations. Unfortunately, we weren't able to capture either of those championships, but we certainly as a community came through as a champion due to the efforts of the players and the volunteers. So I do want to thank them. On March 20th, I had an opportunity to attend and participate in the opening ceremonies of the Building Communities Without Borders conference that is being hosted here in our community by MKO. It was an opportunity to bring individuals involved in employment training from throughout northern Manitoba together. I want to thank MKO and their staff, administration, as well as political leadership for taking the initiative to move forward. I thought the theme was tremendous. As a region, we have to continue to work on tearing down those borders. We will only achieve our real success, our greatest success, by working as a region and as a whole. So I do appreciate that, and I want to note Hilda Fitzner and the work that she's done on that event. I also want to note that on the same day, March 20th, I did have an opportunity following an invitation to attend a Nickel Road tenant meeting that was hosted by Thompson Neighborhood Renewal Corporation. I want to thank them for taking the initiative in hosting that event. The residential tenancies branch attended, including representation from Winnipeg, and the landlord also attended. I thought there was a very good discussion, clarification of some of the regulations and the legislation, and most importantly, I understand that some of the challenges that some of the tenants faced going into that meeting have since been resolved. So I do appreciate the efforts of all those involved to try and address some of those concerns that were expressed. And we had an opportunity to follow up with some of the tenants late last week, and we'll be indicating to residential tenancies branch our appreciation. But I also encourage, and I've asked our administration to ensure that we're keeping track of some of the issues that are faced by both residents as well as landlords in our community, and how we can work to ensure when major retrofits, renovations are undertaken, that we ensure that it's a fair system and it has minimal impact in terms of contributing to vacancy issues in the community. So we will continue to work with agencies such as TNRC, and I look forward to meeting with the minister to discuss some of those. It's always a fine line. We need investment in housing. I've said it before. Without that private investment, it will be very difficult to reach our goal of creating new housing stock. At the same time, we have to ensure, and I've always stated that I don't want anyone to have to leave this community because they've been forced out of their home or they can't find a home during those retrofits. So it's a difficult challenge, but I look forward to working with all the parties involved and continuing to see positive results. On the evening of March 21st, I had an opportunity, along with Mr. Sepatelli, City Manager, Chief Thompson, and Inspector Duff, to meet with a number of downtown businesses, including representatives of both the two malls in the downtown area, to discuss specifically some of the downtown issues that are being faced in that area of the community. I thought it was a very productive discussion. We've made commitments to continue to work together, including continuing the dialogue. I believe in April we've asked for some specific comments and suggestions back. We have a commitment, I think, from Thompson Fire and Emergency Services, the RCMP, to take a look at specific actions we can undertake, but we certainly remain committed to addressing some of those issues that as a community we need to address, and the city will be at the table. I really do appreciate people taking the time to sit down and have that discussion. Too often in this community, people assume or they believe that things are a certain way and they can't be changed, and apathy is a huge issue. And I think all members of council, and I indicated this that evening, I don't think anyone necessarily supports or agrees with some of the unacceptable behaviors that happen in this community. And we all sit together, and we need to be together as a community to begin to address how we resolve those with real solutions that can be acted on. And so I encourage people, when you do have the opportunity, and council's pretty open, don't not raise the issue. That doesn't help anyone. Take the opportunity to sit down and have that discussion, and that's how we're going to get moving in hopefully a positive forward direction. So I do appreciate that, and we'll continue with that dialogue. On March 22nd, I had the opportunity to attend the Nickel Days Business Appreciation Reception. It was a great event. I want to thank Nickel Days. It's, I believe, was a new initiative on behalf of Nickel Days, and I'll note that Councillor Byer serves on the Nickel Days board. A new initiative to thank the community and the corporate sponsors for their past involvement, and more importantly, to talk about the value of communities and businesses getting involved in supporting local initiatives. And it was a great event. I appreciate the opportunity to provide some comments on behalf of the city. I'll note that it was announced that evening that Nickel Days will be returning to the Thompson Regional Community Center. I'm not sure anyone, when we moved away last year, was sure we would ever return, but I think in light of the real progress and some of the success we're having, following a good discussion, decision was made by the Nickel Days board, and I want to acknowledge Jim English from Recreation for the work that they've done, really to allow us and enable us to move back to that site this year. I look forward to that opportunity, and I think and I hope people will be pleased with that. In terms of some of the upcoming events, I want to note that, and I'm going to ask Councillor Hogan to speak on this as well, Earth Day is coming up, and I think she's going to provide a little bit more information. In addition, as I indicated, following the session in Winnipeg, Minister of Children and Youth Opportunities, we had an opportunity to speak briefly. He made a commitment that day that he'd like to come to Northern Manitoba to have a consultation. True to his word, he phoned a few days later and said that was sooner rather than later, and the minister will be here on April the 3rd, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. English? And holding a consultation with leadership, with specific organizations, and also having a general public consultation, and he is encouraging. I thank him for that, and for his swift response and participation in our community. One of the other things that I want to raise is our weather has been a challenge over the last week or so. Mr. Kaversky, I want to extend our appreciation to council, to you and the staff at Public Works for the work they're doing. I know that it's been a challenge. First and foremost, to all residents, I appreciate your cooperation. Please keep safety first. This is always a challenge at this time of year. And if at all possible, please remember safety first when you're out and about on the roads. Our crews, I can advise, on the Friday and Saturday of last weekend, not the one past, the previous one, we had our crews out working overtime on the Friday. We had full shifts on the Saturday with sanding. And I know it was very slippery, but we were out as much as we could, and I think that made a real difference, Mr. Kaversky, and I appreciate that. We are out doing snow clearing as we speak. I know there were some concerns expressed to me about why are we snow clearing when there's water running. In fact, the reason we do that is to liberate any of the manholes so we can drain that water, and secondly, to remove any of the slush on the roads when we can scrape it off before it freezes into ruts. So that's why the city's out. We will continue to do that. We've made a commitment to try and keep the streets clear, and again, as Councillor Beyer pointed out earlier, Mr. Kaversky, I want to thank the crews for the work they've done this year. I don't have any proclamations for council, but I am going to, before I go to members of council to update any events they attended, I'm going to ask Mr. Cepatelli to introduce the newest member of the administration for the City of Thompson.
Sure, thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to sort of introduce to council and to the general public of the City of Thompson is we do have a new person that has taken over the Director of Planning and Community Development, and at this point I'd like to introduce Jessica Mills into the position and welcome her to the City of Thompson.
Excellent, thank you, and we look forward to working with you as well. I'm going to ask if any other members of council have any comments regarding events or meetings they may have participated in. Councillor Hogan.
Thank you. On March 15th, on behalf of Mayor and Council, I attended the opening ceremonies for the Manitoba High School Athletic Association Senior Varsity AAA Basketball Championship that was held in Thompson. It was quite the event. Those kids that we normally see on the basketball courts sure can clean up. There was 16 top-ranked zone winners from across the province present at the feast that was hosted at Wapanuck School and catered by the Juniper Center, so we know that they ate well. I would like to say thank you to the hosting committee, the organizing committee, the volunteers, the MC, the entertainers that showed these kids from across the province just what they're missing by not being in the north. And so I'm confident that they had a very positive experience, and I'd like to say congratulations to the boys and girls senior varsity team, and especially to the Trojan girls who didn't quite finish as well as they hoped for, but still finishing 4th overall is quite an accomplishment. So I think that we should all, on behalf of Mayor and Council, we all give our congratulations to them. Second, further to what Mayor Johnson alluded to, the City of Thompson will be participating in Earth Hour this year. Not Earth Day, which is later in April. We'll have an event then also. But Earth Hour is being held on March 31st. That's this Saturday. And so City Hall will be turning on its lights between 8:30 and 9:30 and hosting a small reception in City Hall. I will note for passersby that if you notice that the lights are still on, that would be the fire department. I don't think it's would be practicing safe operations if we're turning out the lights on them. So we'll keep your lights on, but City Hall
Thank you. Councillor Lafreniere.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to attend a gathering called the 8th Fire, and for those of you who tuned in earlier in the winter, there was a series on CBC hosted by Wabganu, and it was the 8th Fire, and it was, in my opinion, and I think an opinion of a lot of people, it was a documentary on issues facing Aboriginal people across Canada, our successes, our challenges, and it portrayed I think a fair story about what's happening in Canada and some of the things that we're addressing. And so this got at the very least the Aboriginal community pretty pumped and excited about, you know, a different kind of media, a different kind of storytelling about who we are. And the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs partnered with CBC and came up with gatherings across the province, and Thompson was one of those communities selected, not just for the kids here in Thompson, but for our surrounding region. And it was on short notice, and some people, you know, the belief was the people who were there were meant to be there, and things happen for a reason. But at the same time, there was a small gathering of, you know, the Aboriginal Youth Council, myself, AMC, and a few other people standing around saying, we'll bring this back and we'll follow up on this, and we'll make sure that people in Thompson and in our region have an opportunity. So Wabganu was there, which was pretty exciting. He has some good stories to tell. He's a good host, a good facilitator. We were also fortunate enough to have Adam Beach in our community, who has been on, you know, in Hollywood, as well as the latest CBC show Arctic Air. So we had positive role models, people who had left gangs, and just some good discussion. And I'm sure whoever you talk to, everyone has a different experience, but I also want to acknowledge the Fire and Emergency Services for allowing the Sacred Fire to take place during that time. It wasn't always that easy for a sacred fire to be held in our community, and conditions and other things not be the top priority or the top issue. So I thank you for your respect in honoring that sacred fire that was lit for the 3 days here in our community by the Legion. And for those people that were driving by wondering what the heck was going on and too afraid to ask the firekeeper, it was a sacred fire that was lit to honor the young people and the people of our region, to watch over them, to guide the conference. And there's some young men who spend a lot of time watching that fire, and if you ever thought we had patience to sit in council chamber and listen to each other for a couple hours, these fire keepers, I think, could teach us a lot about patience. So I just want to acknowledge that, and it was a really good gathering for our community. It was on March 15th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. I also had the opportunity to attend the launch. It was hosted by Fem NorthNet, which is a research project that's held out of the Canadian Research Institute on the Advancement of Women. There's a project, a 5-year project that was announced about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, regarding the impacts of economic restructuring, so economic development, on Aboriginal and Northern women. And then the announcement from Valet happened. So it so happens that we have the opportunity and access to resources across the nation to include, involve, and understand the impacts on Aboriginal and Northern women. And so just in, you know, they launched a report. I kind of feel weird, I'm a part of it if I say they or we or whatever, but the report was launched. And I think it's a good report. I've shared it with our people for Thompson Economic Diversification Working Group, and we'll also be bringing it to the larger table. So, I mean, that was brought to the management team. So what we want to see from that, or what we'll see from that, is the Blueprints project. That's also part of it, which will be partnering with the program that Councillor Hogan has, I think, successfully brought to our community through her involvement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Protégé. So it's a more organic form of mentorship, which is just bringing women together and allowing those relationships to develop as they go, but giving tools to people to be engaged in the consultations that the Economic Diversification Working Group holds, or other opportunities that come up in the community to allow to give women supports to attend and to have voices at those events. So it's an exciting project, and it's happening over 5 years, but the launch on the 21st was the first report, which was an inventory.
Thank you. Any further comments from members of council who might have attended events?
Sorry, can I say one more thing?
Sure you can.
It was, sorry, I started. I just want to say that I thought it was really positive that the Thompson Neighborhood Renewal Corporation hosted that meeting for the tenants for housing. It's something that the TNRC started when we were first impacted by this. But the one thing when you were talking about it that came to my mind is when the Grey Wolf Bay issue happened, then Minister Selinger was on the phone with us. He was the Minister of Finance, but I'm sure he'll remember the conversation. And he didn't see it as a problem to have, when there's a major renovation status, which means when people are evicted in a community of zero vacancy, he didn't understand why we wouldn't communicate that, or why the province wouldn't communicate that to the municipality, and why the community wouldn't be able to rally around and come up with solutions if that renovation status had to happen and people had to be evicted. That there could be a process to support people to get into different housing or to be more accommodating to the people in the homes, and it was the same landlord, and we weren't given that notification. So I think we can remind the province on how to work better with us in that way.
And just on that one, I can tell you that that is one of the changes that we're suggesting, is that in future municipalities be made aware of any time the application is approved. The one other event that I want to advise, it's an upcoming event on April the 11th. Councillor Lafreniere will be representing the City of Thompson at a major session being hosted by the University of Winnipeg in Winnipeg regarding the state of First Nations in our country. And if anyone has a chance to get the Maclean's magazine, you'll notice the advertisement is there, and I want to congratulate you on being selected to sit on that, and I look forward to that session, which will be broadcast on CPAC Live. Seeing nothing else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Locker, second by Councillor Hogan. All those in favor? We stand adjourned. I'm going to ask you if there's any questions.